Okay, before we begin, let's first start off by reading out of the law. We're going to Deuteronomy 6. And we have 25 verses, so I guess we'll do each person do what? Two verses. And then we'll just keep on rotating, right? Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments which the Most High Ahia commanded to teach you, that you might do them in the land whither ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear the Most High, to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I command thee, thou and thy son and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged.
Verse 3. Hear therefore, O Israel, and observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the most high power of thy fathers have promised thee, in the land that floweth with milk and honey. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord.
Go ahead.
Verse 5. And thou shalt love the Most High thy power with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. Verse 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart.
7. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. 8. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thy hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes.
Verse 9. And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and on thy gates. And it shall be when the Most High thy power shall have brought thee into the land, which he sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give thee great and goodly cities, which thou buildest not.
The house is full of all good things, which thou fillest not, and well of grapes, which thou gavest not, wine-birds and olive trees, which thou plantest not. When thou shalt have eaten and be full, then beware, lest thou forget the Lord, which brought thee forth out of the land of Egypt, from the house of bondage.
Verse 13. Thou shalt fear the Most High thy power and serve him. You shall swear by his name. Verse 14. You shall not go after other gods and the gods of the people which are round about you.
Verse 15. The Most High thy power is good as all of one. It's the enemy of the Most High thy power, and against thee, and to destroy thee from the face of the earth. Verse 16. You shall not tempt the Most High with power,
You shall diligently keep the commandments of the Most High your power, and his testimonies and his statutes, which he hath commanded you. And thou shalt do that which is right and good in the sight of the Most High, that it may be well with thee, and that thou mayest go in and possess the good land which the Most High sware unto thy fathers.
That's all the way around. What verse we left off at here? To cast out all thine enemies from before thee, as the Most High have spoken. And when thy son asketh thee in time coming, saying, what mean the testimonies and the statutes and the judgments which the Most High our power have commanded you?
Verse 21. Then shalt thou say unto thy son, we were Pharaoh's bondmen in Egypt, and the Most High brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. And the Most High showed signs and wonders, and great and sore, upon Egypt, upon Pharaoh, and upon all his household before our eyes.
Verse 23. And he brought us out from thence, that he might bring us in, to give us the land which he sware unto our fathers. And the Most High commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Most High our power, for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is at this day. Verse 25. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Most High our power, as he hath commanded us.
And this links right into what we're going to discuss. What is our righteousness? Ben, what is our righteousness?
Whose righteousness is found in the Most High.
Read the 25th verse again.
And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Most High our power, as he hath commanded.
So what is our righteousness?
Following the commandments.
There it is. Now, let's go to St. John 8 and 32 real quick. And I'm just going to address this to the brothers and sisters within the room. But, of course, this can apply to everyone out there. All right. St. John 8 and 32. Shabbat Shalom. St. John 8 and 32. Read that, Lord.
St. John chapter 8, verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
When Yeshua said, ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free, what in specific was he speaking of? And I know this can be applied to many areas of truth that we may attribute this scripture to, based on the fact that our whole existence under captivity have been lies. But what does Christ mean? Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. I'll go around the room.
Talking about the word.
So how do the truth make us free according to Christ? What are we being freed from?
Sin.
That is correct. I don't have to go around the room because he answered it right on. Sin. That's what Christ was speaking of. Why? In our captive state, we've been taught that sin is natural, that it's a natural part of our habitation, that it's all right to accept sin, that have actually put us in bondage and have made us at war with our God. I'm going to prove that. I'm going to also, in the midst of talking about this, is to link this in to some of Paul's writings. So probably 3-4-fold, a lot of spirits are going to be cast down with this particular understanding. I'm talking about the lies that have put us in bondage. We're going to go into it to show you what the Most High made us free from. And also, it's going to also shine a light on the deceptive teachings, how they use Paul to say the law is done away with by misinterpreting Paul's writings. Also, it's going to be an application for us to show us a difference between grace and sin after baptism. Because I know some people might ask, okay, I'm baptized, now what? What is it the Most High need me to do? And what should I be based on this newfound freedom? Yes, he set us free, but for what? To do what? Let's go to Isaiah 61. And read the first verse.
Isaiah chapter 61, verse 1.
Go ahead.
The Spirit of the Most High power is upon me, because the Most High have anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek.
Good tidings unto the meek.
He have sent me to bind up the brokenhearted.
Bind up the brokenhearted. It's speaking of the broken minds. We've been broken in captivity. And I'm going to make this clear also. This applies more than just the children of Israel. I'm going to make this clear. Because we're not the only people who have been lied to. In order to perpetrate this lie against us, the powers that be under Satan had to lie to the whole earth. They had to lie to everyone so that everyone can perpetrate the lie against us. So they are in bondage too. They are in captivity too. Now, of course, the gospel and the doctrine go to the Jew first and the Gentile. But all in all, they have been lied to. Read.
The Spirit of the Most High power is upon me, because the Most High hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek.
Unto the meek.
He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted.
He sent Christ to bind up the brokenhearted.
To proclaim liberty to the captives.
To do what?
To proclaim liberty to the captives.
You shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Read.
And the opening of the prison to them that are bound.
The open of the prison to them who are bound. What have bound us? Captivity. Lies. Lies forced us into accepting sin. And sin put us in bondage. And in bad case against the Most High. So Christ came to free us from that. We're going to go into it. Read.
Verse 2. To proclaim the acceptable year of the Most High.
To proclaim the acceptable year of the Most High. Read.
And the day of vengeance of our power. To comfort all that mourn.
To comfort all that mourn.
To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion.
To appoint to them that mourn in Zion. So this is a directive primarily to the people of Israel, whom the captive religions and the captive agenda have been aimed towards. So yes, the Most High made it clear that the whole earth had been lied to, but they perpetrated the lie to keep us in bondage. You understand? They couldn't keep the lie just amongst themselves. They had to lie to the entire world population. See that? Read.
To appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes.
Beauty for ashes.
The oil of joy for mourning.
The oil of joy for mourning.
The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness.
The garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. So when we're feeling heavy, what is the answer to that? To praise the Most High. Read.
That they might be called trees of righteousness.
So they might be called, talking about the people of Zion, trees of righteousness. Go ahead.
The planting of the Most High.
The planting of the Most High, to show that the Most High have planted us. Read.
That he might be glorified.
That the Most High might be glorified in our actions within the earth after being set free. Now, of course, there's many levels. One of the first levels is to find out who've lied to us, to find out who we are, who we were the whole time, to find the history of ourselves. But that was for a purpose. It wasn't just to tell the other nations they have lied to us. It was now that we're free. What's the next step? We must find what we're free from. Because the overall spirit that anyone, that all of us need to overcome to get into the kingdom is what's happening within us individually, outside of the lies. Let's get to Romans 6 and 14 real quick. Let's go to the 12th verse. 6 and 12.
Romans chapter 6, verse 4.
Matter of fact, start at the first verse. Let's go all the way through this.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Romans chapter 6, verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound.
Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Now we know that grace was given to us after the death of Christ, which means through his death, the penalty of death that's contained in the law, statutes, and commandments in the Bible are not expediently dealt on a sinner. Do y'all understand that? Because Christ went to the cross, every time we sin unto death, Christ's blood on the cross covers that. But the grace was not to make Christ's death vain. It's a grace period that the Most High give us to correct ourselves before the judgment. Read that again.
Romans chapter 6, verse 1. What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
Azel, what is sin? What is it? What scripture is that? You were right. Let's get it. 1 John 3 and 4.
The book of 1 John chapter 3, verse 4. Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law.
Whosoever committeth sin transgresseth also the law. Because what?
For sin is the transgression of the law.
What is sin?
For sin is the transgression of the law.
This is the mistake that is being made in Christianity. Them not understanding what sin is. They believe sin is breaking the rules that have been established in their church, or that have been established under the Catholic credo. When sin is breaking the commandments of God, which are contained in the Old Testament. But they're told that the laws are done away with, therefore they're under grace. But grace from what? If there's no law, what are you having grace from? So grace itself puts law in place. See that? There must be a law that's applied if you're getting grace from it. You understand? There's no grace without the law. You got that? So what shall we say then? Romans 6 is saying, and Paul is speaking. Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Shall we continue breaking God's law because we're under grace? Because this is what they're teaching in the churches. It's okay to live under grace because the law is done away with. Paul wasn't speaking about that. He put this same thing before us. This same scenario before us, even those that are in the truth. Read.
What shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound?
Now should grace become our law? Read.
Verse 2. God forbid.
God forbid, which means no. Read.
How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?
When were we dead to sin? When we went to the water. That was our death. That was our cross. Laying down the old man, walking in newness of life. Read.
Verse 3. Know ye not that so many of us as were baptized into Yeshua were baptized into his death?
Crystal clear. We were baptized into his death. Now when we do sin under grace, even inadvertently by mistake or whatever the case is, Christ's blood do cover that. But we are to be mindful of the grace that was given us based on the fact that if we were living under the old commandments, we would die. We would be dead already. Read.
Verse 4. Therefore we are buried with him by baptism.
We're buried with Christ through baptism
into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life.
Newness of life. That means walk different. Read.
Verse 5. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection.
That's the change. Someone asked, well, what state will we take? Who will be resurrected? What will be the form? But here's the steps to get to that change. Read.
For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection.
Go ahead.
Verse 6, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him,
Go ahead.
that the body of sin might be destroyed, that henceforth we should not serve sin.
We should not serve sin. Why? Because sin is a law within itself. It was a law that was instituted with our father Adam. And see, and this is what Christians ignore when they read Paul's writings and they see law, and automatically they're programmed to believe that this law is speaking of the law of Moses. That's where they're being confused. Anytime they see law, they've been trained in the pagan Christianity by the satanic sinners who've actually created that religion under Satan, to believe that every place they see law, it's speaking of the Old Testament. When there's another law that was created through the sin of our father Adam, and they don't have the scriptural wherewithal to discern between that law and the laws of Moses. And that's when they get confused concerning Paul. And usually that's when the unlearned are confused concerning Paul. Read on.
Verse 6, knowing this, that our old man is crucified with him,
that our old man is crucified with him,
that the body of sin might be destroyed,
that the body of sin might be destroyed.
That henceforth we should not serve sin.
We shall not serve what?
We shall not serve sin.
Read.
Verse 7, for he that is dead is free from sin.
Go ahead.
Verse 8,
these are those that are baptized. When it says those that are dead, that means that old guy, that old person is dead. It's speaking of us. Read.
for he that is dead is free from sin.
Go ahead.
Verse 8, now if we be dead with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him.
Read.
Verse 9, knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead, dieth no more. Death have no more dominion over you.
Over him.
Go
ahead.
Verse 10.
Why it says that death have no more dominion over Christ. Don't forget, death was an action that came into our existence through the sin of Adam. Before that sin, before taking of that tree of good and evil, there was no such thing as death. So Christ showed us how to get the victory over that and have life eternal, which was meant for us in the beginning, immortality, which we will have if we're resurrected and changed and make it to the other side of this. Read.
Verse 9. Knowing that Christ being raised from the dead dieth no more. Death have no more dominion over him.
Go ahead.
Verse 10. For in that he died unto sin once. But in that he liveth unto the Most High.
Read.
Verse 11. Likewise, reckon ye also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin.
Be dead unto what?
Unto sin.
Unto sin. Read.
But alive unto the Most High, through Hamashiach Yeshua our Lord.
Read.
Verse 12. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body.
Read.
That ye should obey it in the lust thereof.
See, that's what put us in prison, when we obey what the flesh is telling us. That puts us back in prison. You have to realize the corporate satanic structure have used the lust of the flesh and the wanton eyes to put us in bondage, to have us chasing things that we really don't need, and divert us from the spirit of the Most High and the kingdom that will soon come. That was the whole point of their advertising apparatus, to focus on things to get, things we need, over excess of eating, over excesses of things, and worrying, and all these things that Satan put on us to put us in bonds. And we forget that the Most High made us free. He made us free. From the beginning, after that baptism, there was no care in the world, because getting into the kingdom was the key objective. To make it into the kingdom was the key objective, not putting ourselves back under the bondage. Read.
Verse 12. Let not sin therefore reign in your mortal body, that ye should obey it in the lust thereof. Verse 13. Neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin,
Read.
but yield yourselves unto the Most High, as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness unto the Most High.
Read.
Verse 14. For sin shall not have dominion over you,
Here's the key point.
for ye are not under the law, but under grace.
For sin shall not have dominion over you, for you are not under the law, but under grace. You see that colon there? When you see a colon in a verse, it's actually emphasizing what was just spoken in the same verse. So when it says, for sin shall not have dominion over you, for ye are not under the law, but under grace, what law is it speaking of? Sin having dominion over you. That's the law. And this is where Christians and others who read Paul's writings get confused and claim that Paul is contradictory. Paul never said that the law was done away with. He was speaking of the law of sin that was instituted in our members after the sin of our father Adam. Precept. Let's get the Apocrypha, 2nd Esdras, the 3rd chapter and the 21st verse.
2nd Esdras, chapter 3, verse 21.
Read it.
For the first Adam, bearing a wicked heart, transgressed, and was overcome, and so be all they that are born of him.
And so be they that are all born of him. So every man, woman, and child that comes in this earth have that law within them. That wicked seed is in its existence. It doesn't matter how righteous a person may appear, or what they may say, and they may have good intentions, and their spirit could be virtuous and right. But there's still that element that can always come to overtake them and put them back in bonds. And none of us should ever think that we are above that little seed not rising. It's there. It's always there, and it will be put there until it will be there until our change. The mistakes some of us make, and a lot of us did make, is that we thought that the baptism would wash away that wicked seed. And it don't. It gives you the spirit to be aware of it, to fight against it. And the wicked seed leads us to breaking the commandments contained in the Bible. That's what it do. Because through that sin, it makes us dark to the point where we can't connect to the Most High. It makes us hide, like Adam did in the garden. That's what it does. It makes us shame, like Adam was in the garden, like Eve was in the garden. It's not that we're not conscious of the Most High and don't love him. It's just that dark spirit makes us ashamed and makes us hide. And that's putting us in captivity again. Right? But all in all, the example of that we have is after Adam and Eve sinned, the Most High sacrificed animals and covered them and put them out of the garden. He covered their sin. But that wicked root would go into existence until Christ would come to show us the power to overcome it. And that's the key points that they need to be emphasizing, also not amongst us, especially amongst us, but within the churches. Because the very thing they're running from is what they should be following. Paul never said, do away with the law. That was the Roman Catholic Church because they were pagans. They tricked us into believing Paul was saying this, when it was actually, when Paul was giving us high-level advice on how to fight the spirit of sin and death that came with our father Adam. Right? Read the 22nd verse again.
Verse 22. Thus infirmity was made permanent.
The infirmity was made permanent.
And the law
And the
also,
what?
And the law.
And the what?
And the law.
And the law
Also in the heart of the people with malignity of the root.
with the malignity of the root,
So that the good departed away,
so that the good departs away, read,
and the evil abode still.
and the evil gets more fuel. That's what the root does. You understand? So when the Bible says, be not unequally yoked with unbelievers, we have to understand what that means. When it says unequally yoked with unbelievers, if you have two oxen and they're pulling in two separate directions, okay, you're not going to plow a field. Two people must be going the same way. Two oxen must be going the same way, either left or right or straight. But if you're unequally yoked with unbelievers, you're not going to stand still. Either you're going to yoke them and bring them to the truth, or they're going to yoke you and bring forth that evil malignity, that root that was brought, that came with our father Adam. That's what it means, don't be unequally yoked. Okay, that's not saying we can't be around people who don't believe. That ain't what that's saying. What it is saying is, understand that you're going to be pulled. Either you're pulling or they're pulling. That's what that means. Okay? That's what unequally yoked means. Because what? If you are full age in the scriptures, you can be around anybody and be fine. Because there's a certain place you will never go. And you'll be doing all the pulling. Okay? And that's why Christ was able to sit amongst publicans, sinners, people that was doing evil, because they couldn't take him there. If anything, they would be persuaded to figure out what God is he followed. Right? Yes.
Amos chapter 3, verse 3.
Read it.
Can two walk together except they be agreed?
Read it.
Can two walk together except they be agreed?
Can two walk together lest they be agreed? Two cannot walk together unless they are in agreement. And I don't care what people might think. You don't know the spirit that's pulling with the person. That's why you should always be mindful that since you got out of that water, that was the beginning of temptation. Satan is now aware that you have recruited yourself with Christ, that you are in league with Christ. Now you are an aim of his. So when it says set you free, you understand? You've been really set free. But through that, there's a mark that has been placed on you and your life. And you are the target of temptation. Right? Now let's get back to Romans 6 and 14 again.
Romans chapter 6, verse 14.
Read.
For sin shall not have dominion over you.
And we know that's a law. Read.
For ye are not under the law, but under grace.
But under grace. Read.
Verse 15. What then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law?
Shall we sin now because we're not under the law?
But
now Paul is going back to the law. Now he's going back to the law because we're not under the laws of sin and death. Those are the laws that were instituted within Moses' law. The mistake Christians make is they believe that the law means the whole law, and they can pick and choose what laws to follow. And it doesn't mean that. When the Most High said, remember the Sabbath to keep it holy, and said that the Sabbath is a sign between me and you, that was a law that was instituted. You understand? We're supposed to follow that particular law. And if something happens to where we can't do it because we have to do certain things, we have to work, or we have to do something good and help others on that Sabbath to do some work, then we're under the grace and we're covered from the death that would normally have happened if we were under the Old Testament. That's when Christ's blood comes into play. But the law still stands. The law of the Sabbath still stands. Even though Christ's blood covered the death part, we're not supposed to ignore it altogether. And that's the error of Christianity. Saying you can eat what you want and do what you want because Christ's blood covered that. It's not saying that. A matter of fact, it's in the reverse. If you have Christ and sin willfully, there remain no more forgiveness of sins. That means whatever sin you are accumulating after baptism will be accounted. There's no blood for that. Now it tells you what you can do to cover a multitude of sins and clear things up if you're willing to put it down altogether. You understand? Now, if this was being taught, and this understanding was being taught, there will be more righteousness within the earth. Because it's not that we don't have a conscience towards Christ, and that the churches and the people that go to churches are not good people. If they were directed into what the following knew right from wrong according to the Bible, they would follow it. But they're taught to break God's commandments on purpose, which is a doctrinal slavery, a doctrinal captivity in which Christ actually made us free from. Y'all understand? Now, let's go to, I'm going to get some precepts. I wasn't going to read the whole thing through. Let's go to Romans 8 real quick and read the first and second verse.
Romans chapter 8, verse 1. There is therefore now to condemnation. There is therefore now no condemnation to them which are in Christ Yeshua, who walk not after the flesh, but after the Spirit.
But not after the flesh, but after the Spirit. So what is the context of this? The context is walking after the Spirit, not after the flesh. This have nothing to do with not following the laws of God. Because one who is spiritual is following the laws of God. Okay? One that is spiritual is not looking at the law and say, well, that don't apply to me. Read the second verse.
Verse 2. For the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Yeshua hath made me free from the law of sin and death.
Have made me free from the what?
From the law of sin and death.
The law of sin and death. Showing us plainly that there's another law outside of the laws of Moses that Paul is speaking about here. He's speaking about a law that puts us in captivity through sinning against the law, statute, and commandments in the book. So if we do this, we would use Paul's writings to do what? Follow the law. See that? Just on another note, and I'll sway back in a moment. Just on another note, you all made me aware of a video where this Catholic bishop came out plainly and told everyone and all Christians everywhere that Sunday was never instituted in the Bible as a holy day. That there's no place in the Bible that you can confirm Sunday worship. And he also gave the references within the Catholic Credo to show people the dates in which the Catholic Church circumvented the Most High by making Sunday a day of worship on their own. And it tells you they did it on their own on purpose in variance against the Most High. This is a Catholic priest. And he give you the dates. I actually favorite that as one of the videos on the main page. A Gathering 144. Okay? Now I'm saying this because why? They have lied to us long enough to create an immoral world. They don't care if you know now. Why? They don't care because they've already accomplished their will on the population to make the majority of the population habitual sinners against the law. They've already accomplished it. They don't care if you know, because why? They know that the people have been programmed so well under Satan that the people don't care anymore. The people don't care one way or the other. That's what they wanted. Now that they're there and they got the numbers on their side, they're coming straight out and telling you that their Lord is Satan. And when it says that man of sin will be revealed, he have been revealed. He's operating in this earth and he's live and well. He's a demon called Satan. And his top lieutenants are the synagogue of Satan, or the Zionists, or whom we would call the Jewish Khazars that control Israel today. They don't care if you know now, because they have actually accomplished what they needed, and that was what? To cause our people, the chosen people of the Most High, to purposely go against him. They have convinced us that he's not real. They have convinced us, and therefore now these same people have power over us. They can control us. Why? We are a nation of sinners. So when Christ says that the kingdom is for a few, it's absolutely correct. That broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. That is correct. Because Satan, he don't have to create a church of Satan. All the religions of the earth have done their job on society to make an earth filled of Satan worshipers, unbelievers, unrepentant though people who will not follow the law and have no conscience towards even thinking about it. Let's get Hebrews 10. Because some people might ask, well, what can I do? Sometimes I'm alone in this. And that's when we usually attack, when we're to ourselves. When we by ourselves, that's when the Spirit plays to actually move us into sin. Let's get forsaking the assembly. Where is that here?
Verse 25.
One moment here.
Start at 24.
Let's start at the 23rd verse. Matter of fact, let's start at the 22nd verse.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 22. Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience.
A what?
Having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience.
From an evil conscience.
And our bodies washed with pure water.
Go ahead. And that's more proof that the baptism of water is a stage into righteousness, into the kingdom of heaven. It behooves me how brothers out there that are teaching and claim they know the truth deny the water that Christ sent, and deny the prophet John, who was sent before him to lead the way, to show you that the Pharisees and the Sadducees and the Levitical way was no more entrance. That it's more than just knowing the truth and knowing law. That you must actually do a spiritual ritual with a new path into the kingdom of heaven, and that's baptism. Christ paved the way. He went to the water first. And how someone can look at these scriptures and say that you don't have to do water baptism is beyond me. That's total blindness. If Christ did it, you do it. It's that simple. Because you can choose other things now that Christ did that you say you don't have to do. If you can't do the first thing he did, the first thing he did to be pleased, and it was pleasing to his Father, how can we now we can pick and choose which things we would do of Christ? Right? Read.
Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith.
Go ahead.
Having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience.
Go ahead.
And our bodies washed with pure water. Verse 23. Let us hold fast the profession of our faith.
Let us hold fast the profession of our faith. So there's a profession. This is actually a profession we're in. Read.
Let us hold fast the profession of our faith without wavering.
without wavering,
For he is faithful that promised.
because the Most High is going to give everything he said he would give us, including overlooking our shortcomings and overlooking the things that he was at war with. That should be enough. But we're going to get more than that. Ears have not heard, eyes have not seen, neither have it entered into the minds of men what is prepared for us. So when people ask me, what is my opinion of what the kingdom will be, I can't even give it. I won't even begin to try. Because the Most High says, eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, neither have it entered into the minds of men. It's unimaginable. It's a new existence. And how do we know it's new? It hasn't been entered into the minds of men. Read.
Verse 24. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works, not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
Love, good works, and what?
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
We cannot forsake the assembling of ourselves together. So we must get with people in like mind and assemble for the sake of righteousness, for the sake of following the Most High's law. And that should be the main purpose of assembly. Read.
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together, as the manner of some is.
As the manner of some is. And a perfect example is those that are out there who feel that they can just go and just learn from any place and just be on YouTube and link in this group and that group. They're forsaking the assembly. Because they're not on the level to sit and try to understand what this person have is right and what this person have is right. Because they're being tossed to and fro. They don't even know what's right. They don't know that part of their maturation period is them actually gathering with people within the body. The Bible says where two or more gather together, he's in the midst. Not one person. You're just like a piece of paper being tossed all over the place. You're not a verifier of anything. And they think that. They think they're on such a level that they can look at certain things and pick out what they see is wrong. No. You have no foundation, no structure, and you will not grow. Even if you're loyal to something and partake in that, and it's more than one person, Christ can give you the spirit to discern and grow even in that. But you must learn to be one place. Read.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 25. Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
Not forsaking the assembling of ourselves together.
As the manner of some is.
As the manner of some is. Read.
But exhorting one another.
But exhorting one another.
And so much the more, as ye see the day approaching.
As you see the day approaching, we have to be exhorting each other more. Reaching out to each other more. Finding out what each other need more. If we are struggling with something, reaching out and telling people, this is what I'm struggling with. We should do this even more that we're coming close to the end. Because as we come close, we're entering what the scriptures call in Revelations, the hour of temptation. Which means when Christ returns, if you're in that temptation, there's a good chance you'll be in that for that moment. Even if you're a person who usually do the right things. But you don't want to be caught out in that hour. None of us do. After all the work. Read.
Verse 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth.
Read that again.
For if we sin willfully.
If we sin on purpose.
After that we have received the knowledge of the truth.
After we receive the knowledge of the truth.
There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
See that? They don't teach that in the churches. But it's true. Christ's blood don't cover that. That's a choice you made once receiving the blood. Once receiving the excuse. So what is the cure? When that thing is pulling, when that thing is operating, you must gather. You must get with some people of like mind. Because if you are around the body, no matter what you're doing, you're going to be doing something different opposed to if you're not. If you're getting together and you're playing a few games and sitting around and talking, at least your conversation is higher than the world. The strength is in the body. That's what reels us back. And I see some people all the time say, well, listen, well, right now, and I don't want to be associated this, that, and the other. It's like, listen, that's a choice you make. And we don't have anything to say about it. That's your choice. It's like it was a choice for you to get with us in the beginning. But the whole deal is, I hope you have something out there that can link you in and keep your fellowship and your faith in the Most High going as a unit. Because Satan is working on individuals. He's working on people who think that they don't need nobody but themselves in the Bible. And slowly but surely, without that buffering in place, which is the body, what happens? Your purpose change. And now that sin comes to life again. Let me go frequent one of the places I used to frequent. Let me go this, let me do that. Let me fall into this habit or that habit. That's that spirit saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. And it's taken over to the point where you're not that person that came out of the water. None of us are. We become that man again. Right? Read on.
Verse 27. But a certain fearful looking for judgment in
For if we sin willfully after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, there remaineth no more sacrifices of sins. Read.
But a certain fearful looking for of judgment.
But a certain fearful looking of judgment. Read.
And fiery indignation.
And fiery indignation.
Which shall devour the adversaries.
Which shall devour the adversaries. Those are the fallen ones who are meant for judgment. Read.
Verse 28. He that despised Moses' law died without mercy under 2 or 3 witnesses.
Read.
Verse 29. Of how much more sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who have trodden under foot the Son of the Most High, and have counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing.
That means we would count the blood of Christ as something evil or wrong, unholy. Read.
And have despised and have done despite unto the Spirit of grace.
And have actually despite unto the Spirit of grace. We've trampled on grace. And this is what I don't understand, how churches say, well, I'm not under the law, I'm under grace. How they feel protected with that. They have trampled grace because there's no law. At least if you're in the truth and you deal with law, and if you fall and you're dealing with things, you still have a conscience to understand that you have to get back. At least you have a conscience towards the steps you need to take to get back that free spirit in which you feel that you're in good terms with the Most High. But what is it if you think that the law is done away with altogether and grace is your law? You don't even have a conscience to get back and become reprobate. That means sin had become your law. Read.
One quick thing is actually stating that those who sin under grace, their punishment is worse than those who sin under the law of Moses.
Yes. That's worse than what happened with Moses. When they chose a line and the earth swallowed them up. Read.
Verse 30. For we know him that have said, vengeance belongeth unto me. I will recompense, saith the Most High. And again, the Lord shall judge his people. It is a fearful thing to fall into the hands of the living God. But call to remembrance the former days, in which after ye were illuminated.
Remember when we first was illuminated. That means we received the truth. And a lot of people out there speaking of, and I see it online, they talking about the Illuminati, Illuminati. It only means illuminate or the enlightened ones. You know there's righteous people who are enlightened, which can actually see. That's all that means. Just that they under darkness, the Illuminati, choose to deal in darkness with the knowledge to see. So you got those who are recruited in the truth who have been illuminated, which means they can see exactly what's going on and have and can operate and understand the programming and learn to abstain from it. And you got those that walk on the dark side who use that as a benefit to destroy and attack those who are in captive or in the dark. But there's illumination on both sides. So a lot of people, when they see Illuminati, they just think of secret society. It means to be illuminated or one who can see from the dark. And that's how an owl operates. That's why they use the owl as their symbol. Okay? Because an owl it can be pitch dark, and an owl can fly around and see the creatures operating and all that and see what's really going on in the dark. So they are illuminated, which means they can see. When you come to the truth and get the truth of yourself and come to the truth and find out the lies, you're actually illuminated on the righteous side. You are the people that the so-called Illuminati are looking to war against. Why? You're not supposed to be able to see and not work for them. You are a danger to them because why? If you can see, you see them too. And that's why Christ looked a lot of them straight in their eyes and said, you are your father, the devil. He knew exactly what their plots was behind closed doors. The lust of your fathers you will do. You was a murderer from the beginning. He could see them. They had the rest of the people fooled. See? So you have to understand that even when you have the truth and people don't understand this, there's no going back because you'll never see the world the same again anyway. You understand? And now you alone have no fellowship. And on top of that, the illuminate powers on the left-hand side see you. They're still trying to attack you. And that's why Christ says be either hot or cold or be spewed out. Because you can't be in the middle. There's no middle ground. You have to choose which side or what master you will obey. And guess what? You can have more respect for some of them that are even in darkness and have made an allegiance. Why? Because at least they chose a side. They're not wavering. They chose their side. And they're going to get all the blessings under this world that Satan have to give it. The same blessings that Christ turned down at the mount. When Satan said, listen, I'll give you all these things if you follow me. So Satan can bless you too. So you have to give respect to those who say, listen, you straight with Satan? Well, that's at least you chose your side. You're going to lose, but at least they were able to make a decision. So we have to make that same allegiance on the right side of illumination. Read that part again.
This is the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, verse 32.
Read.
But call to remembrance the former days in which after you were illuminated.
After you were illuminated. Read.
Ye endured a great fight of affliction.
When you first received the truth, it says you endured a great fight of affliction. As a matter of fact, you was looking for the fight. Because you were fresh, you were in the truth, the Most High gave you the understanding, nothing could stop you. Paul says always reflect back to that moment when you first was illuminated. The family couldn't stop you, the bills couldn't stop you, nothing could stop you. You were just going up in the spirit. It doesn't matter what happened. You had total faith with the Most High. Paul says always remember that. Because that's the place that we have to be in when all hell in this earth breaks loose. We have to have that same faith and depend on the Most High when it all goes down. Right?
I'm going to read this real quick.
Read it.
This shows that the true illuminate ones are they who keep the commandments.
Read it.
This is Baruch chapter 4, verse 1 through 2. This is the book of the commandments of God, and the law that endure forever. All they that keep it shall come to life, but such as leave it idle shall die. Turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it. Walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated.
That thou may be what?
That thou mayest be illuminated.
So the real illuminates are those that follow Christ. Because why? Those in the so-called Illuminati are still operating in darkness. With all the truth they have, they're operating in darkness. See that?
Hebrews chapter 11, verse 33. Partly.
It says, illuminated, ye endured a great fight of afflictions. Read.
Partly. While she were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions.
Both by reproaches and afflictions. We were made a gazing stock. When we first had the truth, we didn't care what people said about us. We were a gazing stock. People were laughing. They were joking behind our backs, saying, oh, they must be in a cult. Oh, what, they don't eat pork, though. They must be Muslims. Totally ignorant of what's going on. But we endured all that. We endured the scorn of our families and all that. Right? Read.
Partly. While she were made a gazing stock, both by reproaches and afflictions.
Read.
And partly, while she became companions of them that were so used. For ye had compassion of me in my bonds, and took joyfully the spoiling of your goods, knowing in yourselves that ye have in heaven a better and an enduring substance.
Go ahead.
Cast not away therefore your confidence.
Read it again.
Cast not away therefore your confidence.
Don't lose your confidence. The same confidence you had when you first received the love of the truth. Read.
Which hath great recompense of reward.
Because you're close to the reward. You're even closer now than when you were first illuminated. You're closer now. Read.
Verse 36. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the Most High, ye might receive the promise.
That's another trial. And that's the patience. We look at the prophecies and we see what's going on, but it's just not quick enough for a lot of us. Well, what's going on here? Is it going to happen? Can it happen? So the Most High is going to try our patience too. And then the whisperer get in your ear and say, listen, everything is normal. Ain't nothing going to, listen, things going to continue just the same. And things going to just pass you by. You're going to hear all of that. And you're going to look at everybody still doing certain things and be like thinking you're missing something. When the kingdom is in eternity. How much time is that? And you think you're missing something. Our life is only but a little space. It's only but a little space. So don't think you're losing any time by following the Most High. And they'll make you think that the world is just having a party. They'll make you think you're missing everything. All the gatherings and the Christmas and the Christmas carols and the children running around with Easter and people coming around and the family. You know what? All that feels good. And they're going to push it all up in your face. And you sitting there looking at me, I'm waiting for the kingdom. What is this? I'm doing what? What is this really? What is this? Mm-hmm. Not understanding that your patience is being tried. Why? Because that's going to always be there. It was there before the flood, before the water came and took them. Everyone was being merry. Everything was going as normal. Then it rained. Then it rained. Then it rained. The only people had enough sense to understand what was going on was working and building that spiritual place that will be the only protected place in the earth, the ark. And while they were building, people were walking by. Look, they're as simple as looking at them saying, y'all, look at you. It's hot out here. There's no water nowhere. And this guy's building a boat on dry land. Stopping and then prophesying on the people, sweating. And prophesied on the people saying, listen, it's going to come. Don't forget, it took 120 years before the Most High reigned. Now just imagine if the Most High told you to do something now and it's going to happen 120 years from now.
Yeah.
How many of you would be like, man, listen, I could take off 10, 15 years. I could wait till the 90th year and get this thing started. We can hurry up and get it done. No. But it had to be done meticulously according to the patience of the Most High. When the animals would come to him, how much needed to be built, the cubics of it, when the wood would be available, how long it would take to knock things down. And you know what? It was at the very end when the ark was finished, at the end of the 120 years, when they actually walked in. Okay? To show you that it took patience to fulfill what the Most High put in place. So don't think that that work, that protection that the Most High put forth, don't think that it's in vain. You have built something that you're going to get on when it's time. And while the world is so busy doing everything else, when hell breaks loose, there will be no refuge. Because they have built nothing spiritually, because they always believed their salvation was within their satanic construct. They weren't being led through faith. Read it.
2 Peter chapter 3, verse 3 through 5. Knowing this verse, that there shall come in the last days scoffers.
There shall come scoffers.
Walking after their own lust, and saying, where is the promise of his coming?
See that? You're going to have people come and say, well, I thought this was going to happen. I thought this was going to happen. And they're going to start playing in your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Why Christ didn't return yet? And listen, things are still normal. We still going to parties. Nothing happened to us. Read.
For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were.
And they're going to say, listen, things are the same way it's always been. There's always been wars in the earth. This is just natural. We're going to be fine through all this. It's been like this since the beginning. How many times you've heard that?
Mm-hmm.
Read.
For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation.
They'll tell you nothing changed. Everything is still the same. Read.
For this they willingly are ignorant.
Read.
For this they willingly are ignorant.
For this they willingly are ignorant. Because what? They're not looking at the times. If they understood what we understood, they will be focused and have some focus on the kingdom to come. Because this thing is done. And if your heart is in this kingdom and sustaining this kingdom, you're going to fall. It's over. So let me tell you, it's only intellectually advantageous to think of something else now. Okay? An intellect will understand when something is coming and saying, okay, this ship is done. I'm getting off. But the people that are still caught up in the holidays and all that, listen, while they're doing that, Satan is building a constructive, physical captive apparatus around the populations all over the earth to destroy them. So while you're all busy, and I would like to relate this to, you ever see those little globe balls people shake with the snow in it?
Mm-hmm.
I would like to relate it to that. It looks like something is going on when you shake that thing. That's us walking all around, shopping, going Christmas, getting together. That's us. And they sit there looking at you like this. You're about to die. You're about to get crushed. They're building a satanic apparatus around us, knowing that the majority of us is looking for something better. But only those that are in the faith that's with a body, that's operating in the spirit, will make it. That's why the Most High says, where two or more gathered, he is in the midst. Do not forsake the brethren and the people the Most High have actually helped us operate in the same body through that water baptism. Because we're going to be operating in the spirit, helping each other. Okay, when this thing goes down, because we're going to have the same objective. We've all put down the same things. We all understand the world for what it is, and we all have accepted Christ. So when that spirit comes to guide us, We will be guided together. And that's why we call this the gathering of Christ Church. Because Christ will gather the elect to the elect, and we will help each other. That's the point. That is the point. So some people at the end days going to come scoffers. These scoffers are going to make you believe you're missing something. But what? What are you really missing? Christ says, with food, shelter, and raiment, be therewith content. Why is that not enough for you? Or you can have gain for a space. You can have time of space of being jolly and operating in the world, because the world got everything for you. Okay, they have everything for you. I need you to go back to Hebrews 10 real quick, and let's finish reading that.
Yes, sir. Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35.
Go ahead.
Cast not away therefore your confidence.
Read it again.
Cast not away therefore your confidence.
Don't let Satan eat on your confidence to make you think this thing ain't going down. Okay? And people can talk. You know what? We're going to finish building that spiritual ark. While everyone talking about, oh, what did he say? What are you doing? What are you doing? Listen, we're going to build people. They're going to go to that water. And we're going to continue to do what we have to do to wake up the whole earth. And while you're talking, we'll be building. And see, and that's the key point. Because when Christ comes back, he's going to be looking at works. Now, if your works is just looking at me and trying to examine me, I hope you would have brought some people to the Most High to follow the Most High like that. If that's been your works. Okay? That's why I keep going, because you're going to always have vain talkers. The epistles tell you about that too. They was vain talking all the people who was operating in the truth. They was vain talking everyone you look in the truth, they was vain talking against. They try to break their confidence. When, to tell you the truth, I mean, what else can I do? I don't care to do nothing else but wake up our people and become one of the greatest spiritual threats that this earth have seen in this time. And that's what I desire to be. Period. And the people, the vain talkers and the lookers, they're not doing nothing. Okay? They don't understand what goes down within a day. And the calls that come through and the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. They have no idea. Finish reading.
This is the end of verse 35. Which have great recompense of reward. Verse 36. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the Most High, ye might receive the promise.
Read that again.
For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the Most High,
after you've done the will of the Most High,
ye might receive the promise.
You might receive the promise. And it's still, we might receive the promise. Read.
Verse 37. For yet a little while, and he that shall come will come.
Just wait a little while. He's coming. I'm looking at the prophecies. I'm seeing what's going on in Syria. I'm totally ignoring this whistleblower garbage they have on the news. That they have talking about whistleblower. This guy told this and this guy told that. I'm totally ignoring the news. I'm ignoring all the entertainment news, which is total garbage. I'm ignoring all the rants and the fashion news they have out there, which is a distraction. And I'm looking at what's going on in Syria right now. That's the focus. Why haven't they toppled Assad yet? Been over a year, right? Why? Because Iranian troops. The war with Iran is about to happen soon. So that's what I'm focused on, because that war with Persia is a game changer. And I'll tell you this, when all this breaks down, brothers and sisters, I'm going to tell you right now, when all this breaks down, and them so-called terrorist plots that are provocatory right now, and false flags are happening, when they become real based on them attacking Iran, and all the things we prophesied and talk about and things you talk to your family about, and the system start breaking down, you know that the first thing going to come to mind is the people who was talking about it. All the people in your family, the people you knew, I don't care what they've been dealing with in the parties and all that they've been going to, you're going to pop up in their mind. You're going to be like, you know what? If they knew that this was going to happen, we need to figure out what's going on with them and what is their direction, because they seen it and it's happening. And they was reading it out of the Bible. And they was talking about going someplace. That's when it's going to kick in for some of our people. But we're not to look back. We ought to look forward. Because believe me, they're going to come looking for you. They're going to try to find out where you at, what's going on, because when they figure out, because all their parties, all this is about to come to a serious end. Believe me, it's going to be world war all around the earth. And when this happens, the natural way of living going to change the mindset of the population. And that's the only reason they're looking to downsize the population and kill them off like this. Because what can you do with so many people that don't have distractions anymore? Now their focus is the real world. So they have to get rid of these people. That's what these wars are about. And the reality is going to come to play. They're going to stand up and say, you know what? Those brothers and sisters that was telling me about this, you know what? They were correct. The Most High was showing them something. And ain't going to be no question about where's Babylon at, or whether or not this is Babylon, or whether or not we got to leave. It ain't going to be about that, because the question going to come in whether or not we can leave altogether anyway. You understand? It's going to be about the truth of the Most High being exalted and His word confirmed, regardless of an organization. So we all have to always focus back. We must always focus back to that point of the truth and realize we're closer than we were then. And finish whatever we must finish. Read it.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 37. For yet a little while.
For yet a little while.
And he that shall come will come.
He that shall come will come. Read.
And will not tarry.
And will not tarry.
Now the just shall live by faith.
And the just shall live by what?
By faith.
Guess what? Because you're not going to have a job unless you're willing to destroy and rape and kill and prod your people in one of these internment camps. You're not going to be working. All the jobs have shifted to military and policemen. So if you don't know how to live by faith, you're in bad shape. Okay? Who can live with no promise of money at all? Who can live that way? Who can live when they set up a system in which everything is through their banks, and your whole spending system is through the banks, and no man can buy or sell unless they have the mark of the beast? The Western worlds are going there. Soon, all money will be electronic credit. It's right there anyway. Right now, your money is credit. You're just taking it off and putting it in your pocket. Okay? But they can change that into a system in which you cannot buy or sell unless you get a mark. Then where will your faith be? Will you serve Satan and get the chip and try to excuse it off to this can't be the mark? Or will you live by faith and have the Most High give you what you need to sustain by operating within the body, coming together, putting it all together, and having all things common to survive? See, the direction is in the scriptures. How to operate when the system goes down, it's in the scriptures. The disciples came together and had all things common. Okay? Which means some people might have this, some people might have this, some people might have that. We put it all together and we all have what we need to sustain today, because that's what it's going to come down to. The evils of tomorrow can take care of themselves. When this hell break out, we're going to thank the Most High for living through a day. Okay? And a lot of us, especially those who have come together, have already learned how to have all things common to one degree. It's going to the next degree. It's going to the next degree. We have gardeners. We have tailors. We have people who can do things. We have midwives. We have, you name it, we have it. So now we have to focus on when this thing break out and get ready for our spiritual art. And to make sure our confidence is sure to get on it. Read on.
Hebrews 10 and 38. Now the just shall live by faith.
The just shall live by what?
By faith.
By faith. I know a lot of people say, well, how can I do this? And how can I do this? I hear people say it all the time. Well, what about the people that can't leave Babylon? Or what about the people that don't got money? My question is, why are you sending a mail to me? I'm not the one who said leave Babylon. The Most High said it. Where is your faith? Where is your faith? Put your faith into play. It will grow. It will plant a seed and it will grow. If you put faith in the works of the Most High, He's righteous to reward. But I know what it is. But I'm going to talk about that at another time. But I'm just going into how things are about to change and we must refocus based on what was placed in us, the truth. Not just the truth of the world, but the truth about ourselves, so that we can overcome ourselves and make it. That's the point. Read that last part again.
Now the just shall live by faith.
The just shall live by faith, read.
But if any man draw back.
But if any man what?
But if any man draw back.
If any man draw back, like I said earlier, what choice do I have but to finish? What else is there? This thing is done. It's finished. Read.
My soul shall have no pleasure in him.
Read.
Verse 39. But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition.
We are not of them which draw back unto perdition. Read.
But of them that believe to the saving of the soul.
But of them that believe to the saving of the soul. Got it? So I wanted to actually go into that to show you what we're warring against, so that we can refocus and understand what the mission is. I'm going to tell you, it doesn't matter who draw back. It doesn't matter who draw back if you're still going forward. And that's the point. You have to keep going. The race is not to the swift. Ye that endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. We have to work to the end. And yes, there's some peace and good times in between it, but understand that we haven't been called to be glorious within this kingdom. Okay? We haven't been called for that. We are the base of this kingdom. And the kingdom, this kingdom, Satan's kingdom, is at variance with us. They are at variance with us. The true illuminates, those that are illuminated or have the light of Christ. So I wanted to go into that, and I hope that what we went over take place so you'll understand so that we can all understand that law that operates in us. And how do you fight that law? By getting with others in the same spirit and reeling yourself back. And another thing is, when it comes to your members, one thing about those spirits we learned in Enoch, the spirits that attack, do battle, they have a weakness. What is their weakness? They hunger and thirst. You understand? They hunger and they thirst. So that's their weakness. They'd rather be in someone who eats all the time. So when you're dealing with that and you're hearing that other voice that comes to life, that Adam, that old Adam pops up and say, listen up, we need to do some things. Say, you know what? It's time for me to cut back now. Okay, see if you can live in here for a minute. Now I'm sitting here just chopping on about a few pieces of lettuce and drinking a spoonful of water. Okay, starve it out. Why? Because as your body dies off, the spirit becomes alive. So just cut back. Cut back with just enough to where that spirit gets small, that attacks you. Because it can't operate if you're not feeding yourself. The closer you are to death, the closer you are in the spirit. And by depriving yourself of food sometimes and water sometimes, it actually brings you closer to the spirit. Because your flesh is too weak to do anything anyway. So that's another key way of fighting. And it's about sustaining day to day. The fight is daily. The fight is daily. Just understand that. So we should say, okay, I made it another day closer to the kingdom. I made it another day. Just do it day by day. Okay?